So let's start off this morning. So, back 7 years ago, when I started into A Course in Miracles, okay, I'm a visionary. I'm dyslexic, and I'm dysgraphic, and that means I see everything in images, and I see everything in reverse, and I see everything upside down.
We know.
So there's something else like that, and it's called A Course in Miracles. Okay? So, for the first couple of months when I was reading the Course, this vision appeared to me every night in front of me. And it was basically the Course, but it was like the Course in a big maze. And I was asked one question, can you solve it? And for 3 months, every single night, I looked at this maze and I went through it, I went this way, I went that way, I went everywhere. I couldn't find a way out of it. So after 3 months, what I did, I turned around and said, the answer is no. There's no way out of this. And the answer was correct. So what happened in that instant, the maze basically turned on its side and went like this. And what happened was, the maze basically showed a side view and it showed the steps up through the levels. And I wasn't so sure what this was all about at the time, but the more that I worked with these levels, and I have been kind of teaching these levels for the last 4 or 5 years, and these levels, the depth of these levels and what they really do, they expose the ego. Okay? They expose the ego thought system. And not only do they expose the ego thought system, but they're also going to expose the teachers of spirituality for the very first time. Okay? So what this means is you will be able to look at a teacher, any teacher, and with these levels, you'll be able to see what that teacher is teaching. Okay? You'll be able to see the level that you are on. You'll be able to see the level that you need to get to next. Okay? Because we're all on level 1. Okay? And on level 1, which is the third dimension, you have the body, you have the ego split mind, and you have the world. That's why it's called the third dimension. Those are the 3 dimensions. So, in the Course, we learn that the world is neutral. But when we look at the world, is the world neutral? Why?
Because we think it isn't.
No, because we're looking through the ego split mind of right and wrong, good and bad. Okay? And what that means is everything we look at and see in the world is through that lens of right and wrong, good and bad. Isn't this correct? Okay? So, the body is attached to the mind. The split mind. The body is also attached to the world. Isn't that true? When you take the world out of the equation, what happens to the body? Is there a body? No. When you take the body out of the equation, is there a world? No. Isn't that true? So, what we're tasked here to do is, and our only function is to get to level 2. And level 2 is the true right mind, it's the Holy Spirit, it's right-mindedness. Level 3 is the higher self, it's the awakened self, it's the advanced teacher of God that you read about in the 10 characteristics of the advanced teacher of God. The next level up is level 4, Christ. And the last level is heaven. So, what I would say to you, you have many, many relationships. Okay? What's the first thing you think of? The relationship you have with your mother, your parents, your sisters, your brothers, your friends, isn't this true? Yeah? These are all relationships we know. But those are secondary relationships. Because we have a relationship with every level here. We have a relationship with the world. We have a relationship with our bodies. And we have a relationship with the split mind. We have a relationship with the Holy Spirit on level 2. We have a relationship with our higher self on level 3. We have a relationship on level 4 with Christ. Our oneness with each other. And we have a relationship at the top level with God in divine oneness. Isn't this true? So, the relationship that you have with your body is the relationship that your body has with everybody else. Isn't that true? So, what do we do in the world? Okay? We set out and we try to fix relationships. Okay? We have family, we have friends, okay? We have special loves and we have special hates. And we're always trying to work with those relationships. We project onto them, they project onto us. But there's a fundamental flaw in this. Can anybody tell me what it is? Sorry? Yeah. You see, as long as you continue to work on all your relationships external to you, there's a fundamental flaw in that. Because the only relationship you really need to work with is your relationship with yourself. Because when you get this relationship with yourself right, now all your other relationships will be correct. Isn't that right? So it's very, very important that we get this relationship with ourselves. Because at this level, in level 1, have you ever been called two-faced? Have you ever called someone two-faced? Yeah? Is there people with two faces? Anybody? Is there two-faced people in the world? There's not. There's three-faced people in the world. Everybody's got three faces. Nick, you're looking a little bit surprised. I like it. So let me explain the three faces. And you should know these three faces very, very well. So let's talk about the first face. It's the persona. Okay? That's the people pleaser. That's the manipulator. You know, that's the persona that wants to be liked. It wants to be loved. So it tells other people how great they are, how wonderful they are. But it's really not true. Because we feel obliged to do this because we're a good person. So the persona is the face that gets on in the world. It's the public face of the ego. And we all use the persona to get things done. Just look at yourself. Maybe you're late at the airport or something and you run up and you have a big smile on your face and you're trying to get people to basically work with you. Maybe you're a little bit worried or something and you're going to use that face. But basically what we do with the persona, we manipulate other people all the time with it. So then we have our angry face. Our face where we're disappointed in people. Okay? This is the face that we also have when things don't go too well for us. We know this face. This face is called the shadow. Isn't that right? So everybody identify with those two faces. What's the third face? The personality. The personality is your true face. The personality is what you chose to come in here to experience this world as. Okay? So out of these three faces, there's one of them that's really going to hurt you real bad. Which one? No. The persona. Because the moment you go into the persona, the moment you engage with the persona, you automatically start creating a shadow. It's inevitable. You can't have a persona without a shadow. It's the persona that creates the shadow. It's the persona that gets you into trouble. Let me look at this diagram. Okay, on level 1, you can see these three faces. You have the personality, which is the decision maker. You have the persona in the right, which is false forgiveness, false empathy, special love, special family. The victim is also the persona. So anytime you're playing the victim, you're walking straight into a trap with the ego. Because you can't play the victim without seeking someone to victimize you. Okay, they can't be a victim without a victimizer. So the key here is this. For you to get to level 2, into the Holy Spirit, you can only ascend from one place. Where? the personality. You know the chorus where it says, "Be still and know that I am God"? That stillness is going to come in your personality. When you're in the persona, you cannot ascend to level 2. When you're in the shadow, you cannot ascend to level 2. So this is why people meditate. To bring in that stillness. So if you really want to ascend up through the levels of this, you can only do it from one place, your center. And people who are familiar with my teachings will have heard me saying about my center over the last couple of years. What I'm talking about is in the center here, the personality. At this level. And when you move to the next level in the true right mind, you're in your center. Because when you get to level 2, you work with your higher self. You're working with Christ. You're working with all the angels of heaven, the mighty companions work with you. So let's say for a moment that you're not hearing the voice of God. You're not hearing the Holy Spirit. Where are you?
In your persona.
You're in level 1. Okay? If you really want to hear the voice of God, you must ascend to level 2. So, what are the conditions for level 2? There's 2 main conditions that will get you inside the door. But if you don't apply or apply these 2 conditions, then you ain't getting in the door. And one of the conditions is complete, full responsibility for everything you experience. You ain't getting into level 2 if you don't have that. And the second one is the total of acceptance of everything that what is. Means everything that's external to you. Your acceptance of it at this moment. And if you can apply those 2 in every circumstance that you're in the world, then you will be at a higher state of awareness, a higher state of consciousness. Let's look at what Einstein said. Einstein says you can't solve the problem where the problem's been created. On level 1, it's the persona that's creating all problems in your life. And it can't be solved. That's where everybody's trying to solve the problem. The problem can't be solved in level 1. The problem can only be solved in level 2. So let's look at a few teachers. Okay, you're all aware of Byron Katie? Alright, let's look how Byron Katie works the levels. Byron Katie's a level 3 teacher. Okay, but what Byron Katie does is she comes down to level 1, she gets the person, she helps that person to come up to level 2. How does she do it? If level 1 is right and wrong and good and bad, anybody familiar with the work that Byron Katie does? What does she do? Simple question. Is it true? She gets the person to see the truth. The story that they have, is that story true? And 99.9% of people will look at the story. They don't want to look at the story, but once they do look at the story, they'll see that it's not true. If you can look at any story in your life, in your experience, and instead of looking at it right and wrong, or good and bad, simply ask yourself this question. Is this experience true? Is what I'm experiencing true? Is this person hurting me, or am I hurting this other person? Because when Byron gets the person up to level 2, she then holds them up there because that person starts seeing differently. When I was with Cora last week in Cora's group, we looked at a little clip of Byron Katie. And she was able to lift that person up from level 1 onto level 2, and then, at the beginning when she was asking this person couldn't think of one truth on level 1. But she persisted, she helped him and came up. And when he came up to level 2, he got one truth. And then he got another, and another, and another. He started to see everything differently. Everything different. Why? Because she started to look, is this true or false? Anybody aware of Yogananda? Alright. What is it? The autobiography of yoga. So if you look at at the end of that film of Yogananda's, right? He talks about the real and the unreal. And that's level 2. He was basically lifting people up with those simple concepts of the real and the unreal. So, as long as you're attached to the right and wrong and the good and bad, then you're going to remain on level 1. So that brings me to teachers. There's some teachers out there on level 3, there's some teachers on level 2, and there's many teachers on level 1. But the problem arises this, is there are teachers out there who believe they're on level 3, but they're not on level 3. Okay? Why? Because this teacher in particular, who claims to be enlightened, who claims to be awake, is going around telling other teachers to teach the course wrong. That they're not teaching the course right. And the same person has said to another group of people that Ken Watney really didn't understand the course. Such a statement to make. Because this person has really said they know everything about the course. And I don't think there's anybody in the world at this present time who knows everything about the course. Apart from me. How'd you say that? So the point that I'm making here is if you could look at any teacher, that teacher will reveal themselves. Because there's teachers out there and they're making an absolute fortune from people who are seeking the truth, people who are seeking help. So what these levels do, they're going to expose the teachers of the course who are basically manipulating people and abusing the course, and they're also going to expose the ego thought system. What this does, it empowers all of the students in the world of spirituality. Because once you learn and master these levels, you can look at any teacher in the world and you'll see exactly what that person's teaching. So if you look at Eckhart Tolle, okay, Eckhart Tolle, level 3 teacher, the bliss, the now, is on level 3. Isn't that right? So you look at level 1, you have past and future, those 2 rooms. What's missing? Present moment. You see, when Jesus says in the Course that this world was made to keep God out, the ego basically made these 2 rooms at level 1, past and future. There's no present, is there? And that's where God is. Isn't that right? That's where truth is. That's where awareness is. That's where basically the bliss is. So the people who are doing Eckhart Tolle's book, they're on level 1 and they're trying to make that big jump up to level 3. Can't be done. And here's why. If you look at Jesus' teaching, he said, if you blaspheme the Father, you will be forgiven. If you blaspheme the Son, you will be forgiven. But if you blaspheme the Holy Spirit, you shall never be forgiven in heaven or earth. Do you know what he means by that? Because we need the Holy Spirit, we need level 2. Okay? If you're not going to use level 2, you ain't going anywhere. That's how simple this is. So, for students of the course, okay? For students of spirituality throughout the world, everywhere, your only function is to get to level 2. That's it. And that's the easy part. What's the hard part? Stay in there. Okay, that's the real tough part. But the key is this. Once you can get up there and you'll go up and you'll come down and you'll go up and you'll come down, okay? But one day you'll stay there. And the moment that you can consistently stay there, you automatically go to level 3. So you don't have to work to get to level 3. You just have to get to level 2 and stay on. That's it. So what I would say to people, you could go and you could listen to Muji all day, telling me wonderful things on level 3, level 4, level 5. Yeah? It ain't going to help you much. Because you need to get to level 2. Because level 2 is about detachment, it's about forgiveness, it's about self-empowerment. All those tools are there. There's several very powerful tools in the course, all designed to get you to level 2 and to get you to stay there. It's that simple. Throughout the course, Jesus says that this course is a simple course. But if you're on level 1 and you're looking up all the time at the higher self, or you're looking up at the Christ, and you're looking up at heaven and all of this, then you're basically way above your pay grade. Sorry. Because don't waste your energy on anything above where your next step is. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Any questions? Are we happy? We don't look happy? So really what it comes down to, this is the real work starts when you get to level 2. The problem is this, is people who are on level 1 are doing the work on level 1 with the course. Nothing's going to change. Okay? The only way this is going to change is you must get to level 2 and start then working with forgiveness on level 1. You can only sort the problems out on level 1 from level 2. You can only start them from your true right mind, from the mind of the Holy Spirit. Isn't this correct? So your only function, okay, is to become right-minded. And that is to use the tools that become right-minded. Because when you get up to level 2, there's one thing that keeps pulling you down every single time. What is it? Anybody? Attachments. That's it. All our attachments will keep pulling us down. You could be in a lovely space and all of a sudden you'll see something you don't like. Okay? You're straight down into the shadow. Because you have that person in the bad room, you have that person in the shadow, and when you see that person, you're going into the room with that person. So wherever you put a person, that's where you're going. So if you put someone into the good room, you go into the good room. If you put someone into the bad room, you go into the bad room. But the two rooms are basically the same. They're an illusion of two rooms. They're all the ego. So if you really, really want peace in your life, this is the piece of advice I'll give you. Get the fuck out of your persona. Seriously. Because that is where all the creation of all the pain, the suffering, the sickness. The other thing is this, there's no sickness on level 2. If you stay on level 1 for the rest of your life, you're going to get sicker and sicker and sicker. There's no escaping that. Because the whole system was made that the body would decay, the body would get sick, and that's the way the whole world is. And the longer you stay on level 2, let's say you're in your persona, and you're using your persona all your life to get on, to manipulate people, to amass money, to get this, to acquire all kinds of things. Something very interesting happens at the end of your life. The shadow completely envelops the persona. That person will live in darkness for the remainder of their years. They'll be in a lot of fear. And they will project that fear onto maybe the fear of God, the fear of death, the fear of getting sick. They'll project it onto maybe the fear of not having enough money when you retire. But everybody who's doing A Course in Miracles, everybody who's doing the true work in A Course in Miracles, you're not going to go through that in this lifetime. And you couldn't pay into a pension for that. Because there are people with millions and billions, and then people will live in fear. They live in fear of being, someone taking their money. Being robbed, being manipulated. So, I'll leave you with this. It's really as simple as this. Get out of level 1 and get into level 2. And when you get into level 2, start your work on level 1 by detaching from your special relationships. Because in those 2 rooms on level 1, you have a lot of people. But here's another trick. For every person you have in the good room, you have to have someone in the bad room. Because the equation always has to be balanced. Okay, and very interesting story, a person I was working with online, and they really had this person, and they didn't put the person into the good room, and they didn't put the person into the bad room. And I was saying, where are they? Well, I don't have a problem with them, but, So where did the person go? In the bad room. Because that person was trying to be good, they were trying to say to themselves, well, I really don't have a problem with this person. But if you're on level 1, and you're attached to that mindset, there is no neutral thoughts. Everybody's either good or bad. So just think for a moment. Have you somebody in your life that's neither good nor bad? Have you? Yeah, we all have. That's an illusion. That really doesn't make sense. You'd be far better being honest and saying, this person's an asshole, they're bad. Seriously. You know? Because now you're aware of this, you're doing this, and it's not going to hurt you. It only hurts you when you kind of rationalize this and try to be good, because now you're using the persona once again. And all you're doing is creating another shadow. Mary, are you on time clock?
Yeah, you've got 5.5 minutes.
Wonderful, wonderful. I was just checking on you there.
You started 2 minutes very early.
Oh, sorry.
Because I'm way ahead of you, boy.
Right. Okay. So, really what this is all about is thank you, Mary. What this is really all about is simplicity at the end of the day. You know, if you don't, you know, you can try to do the course without the levels. Okay, you're going to get lost. And maybe you've been lost up to this point. Because let's look at the way the course is written. Look at any one chapter. Okay? Jesus talks about all of the levels in every chapter. And he could be talking about forgiveness on level 1. And then 2 pages later, he's talking about forgiveness on level 2. And he's talking about forgiveness on level 3. Because forgiveness has different meanings on every level. And this is why people see the course as so confusing. But if you read the course and you break down the levels, you'll understand every section where he's talking about, the level that he's talking about, and the meaning that that level has. Now this all came to me, like I say, naturally, because I have a number of disabilities. I'm dyslexic and I'm dysgraphic. Okay? And they turned out to be great gifts when it came to the book of Course in Miracles. So it's through my visions, it's through these learnings that I became to master the course. Now, just to finish up with this, is I was never a student of the Course in Miracles. Okay? I don't think I could have been a student of the Course in Miracles.
No, you couldn't.
I had a big ego, and I didn't want to give it up. And I couldn't see myself gently handing over this, that, and everything. So my path to wake up was the dark night of the soul. And it hits the reverse of what the course is, because everything is taken from you. And that's the way that I basically did A Course in Miracles, was the dark night of the soul. But the course, you know, it's a more gentler path than the dark night of the soul, because the dark night of the soul is a really dark, lonely, isolated, and basically all you want to do is kill yourself. So if you're going to go down that path, you're going to need a good reason to live at the end of it, because it's really dark and desolate and lonely at the end of it. So the course is all about the reversal of that, where we gently hand over. And like Jesus says in the course, this is not sacrifice, because all you're asked to hand over is your pain, your suffering. And that's not really sacrifice at the end of the day. Okay? So on that note, I'm going to thank you all. God bless, safe trip home, and I love you. Thank you.